Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
For me, the recruiting process, not so much schools coming to watch you play, but just starting to kind of think about things is when you finally get into high school. Now, I know that sounds really early because most guys are like, I'm only in high school, like, I don't even know about high school yet. How am I going to know about college? I'm talking about the very beginning steps, okay? Some people are going to try to start to get you to do profiles and stuff before you even get to high school. For me, I think that's an absolute waste of time. What you need to be doing when you get into high school is starting to think about starting the process, okay? So I'm going to give you some tips on that. All right, the first thing to know about college recruiting is that it takes more than just on-field stuff. You have to do stuff off the field. Now, I say this every year, and not a lot of kids, but there's a decent amount of kids that don't believe me because I coach our 17-year-old team, and that whole team, we have two of those teams, and the majority of that team is going to play in college baseball, but most of them think that they're just going to walk on the field, play in a game, and then all the coaches are going to be like, that kid's amazing. And then they're all going to come running down to him and talk to him and call him, and he's going to have a scholarship, right? That's what everyone envisions happening. That only happens to like the top, for our team, the top couple players. And we have some of the best players in the whole state, right? But you have to be super, super good for that to happen. We have a guy on our team that throws 90 plus miles an hour. And there's been a lot of schools that say, yeah, you know, I don't like this about him, I don't like that about him, I don't like. And you would think if anyone here saw him, you'd be like, oh my God, that guy's gonna pitch in the major leagues. And even he can't just walk on the field, pitch, and then everyone just comes calling him. Now, a lot of schools have called him, 20, 25 schools, but don't be confused and think that it's just gonna be like walk on the field, play, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be going to college the next day. You're gonna have to do stuff off the field, okay? And that's what we're gonna talk about today. You're going to have to be constructing emails. You're going to have to create a target list. You're going to have a game plan instead of just going at it blindly, okay? And you have to be the ones that do it, all right? It can't be your parents that do it. Now, right now in your life, your parents might do a lot of stuff for you. But when it comes to college recruiting, no college coaches are ever going to want to talk to your parents. You're going to be a big boy when you go to college, and college coaches, when you get to college, you can't call mom and dad to have them do everything. Make sure you get out of bed and get to class in time. So that's just a red flag, okay? And plus, every parent thinks their kid is the greatest player of all time, so coaches don't want to talk to parents, right? Because all they're going to say is, oh, my kid's the greatest player of all time. Now, let's talk about a couple of numbers, all right? This is not to scare anyone. But when you guys think of college baseball, what kind of teams do you think about? Start yelling out some names. Vandy, number one school everyone thinks of. Vandy. What else?
Mississippi State, Ole Miss.
Okay, keep going. Holy Cross, that a baby.
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina, nice. What?
Clemson.
Okay. Oregon, LSU, TCU. What's that?
I think a year.
Me?
No, like Yale.
Oh, Yale. Yeah. Okay, now, all right, so hold on a minute. Everyone just named a bunch of schools. I would say that every school that was named was in the top 25 in the country, except for Holy Cross and Yale. You guys must be smart guys, okay? So, that's what most people think of. Now, all the schools you listed, guess what division all those schools are in? One, yep. Not only do you all name ones, you name the best ones in the country. Nobody named a Division II or Division III school. Guess how many on average high school players, guess what percentage of high school players play Division I college baseball? Take a guess.
15%.
Okay, keep guessing.
3%. Yeah, 3.
3?
Less than 1%.
Less than 1?
Just 1.
1? Yeah, so it's about 1, maybe 1.5% or so, right? So that means there's only 50 guys in this camp. There's not even 50 guys in this camp. If you added double this camp and then added a few more, maybe one of you, the numbers would say that maybe one of you would play Division I baseball, okay? So that's not to scare players or to make them think, to make them think that they can't do it, because everyone should shoot. If you want to play Vandy baseball or Clemson baseball, whatever, you should shoot to play for that. You should work as hard as you can. But to be realistic, there's only 1 to 1.5% somewhere in there. The reason I say that is there's a ton of really good baseball, especially around this area. We live in an area where there's a ton of Division III schools and a ton of Division II schools. And so when you get to the time to start looking at schools, the number one mistake every player makes is they are unrealistic about where they can play. That is not your fault, but most people here don't know how good players on Vandy are and how good players on Clemson are, okay? And so most players, not to say you all think you can play there, but most players think that they can play at a higher level than they can. Most players think they can play at Division I when, obviously the numbers say most players can't play, okay? So when you make a target list, which we talked about, you have to include Division II schools and Division III schools. So you should set up your list where you've got reach schools. So the reach schools are schools that are like, man, I would love to go there, but I don't know if I can play there, but I'd love to go there. Then you should have a bunch of like realistic schools where you think you could play there. Maybe, maybe not, but they're close. And then you should have some safety schools. Schools that you're like, okay, I am really sure that academically and athletically I can play there. Now, some of you are going to say, how do I know where I can play, right? That's where when you start to get old enough, hopefully you have a coach. If you play with us, you have Coach Juan at the 16s, you have me at the 17s, who we've both coached college baseball, right? Juan coached for 7 years, all right? I coached for 2 years. We both played college baseball. And we both helped kids play in college baseball for a long time, okay? So we have a really good idea. If you don't play for us, you need to find somebody that could help you, okay? And that could be your high school coach. It could be your summer ball coach. It could be, they have some recruiting services out there. Some are okay and good. Some are good. Some are really bad. You just got to do your research and find someone. The biggest thing is find someone that can help you out with that, okay? Really, really important. Don't ask mom and dad or your parents' best friend or whatever, because they're gonna have a biased opinion of you. Everyone's gonna think like, I think my son's the greatest player ever. He's 4 years old. All right, I think my daughter's the greatest player ever. I'm sure I'll think that forever, and so I'm probably gonna have to go to someone else to help me out because that's just the way parents are. This is hugely important. The academic part of it. The most important thing for everybody here, pretty much every player in the country, should be about academics, right? For two reasons. One, even if you're the greatest player in the world, let's just say you want to go to Holy Cross. You named a good school, Holy Cross. I coached there for a year. If you're the best player in the world, but you don't have above a 3.5 GPA in high school, and you don't take hard classes, and you don't get probably above a 1200 SAT, you're probably not going to Holy Cross, no matter how good you are. So if Mookie Betts was in high school and he came to Holy Cross and said, Coach, I love it here, I want to go, and Mookie, let's just say he had a 3.0 GPA and 1,000 SAT, Coach would say, Mookie, I love you, you're a great player, but you can't play here. So don't allow your academics to not allow you to go to a school that you want to. Maybe Holy Cross, you're the number one school on your list. Don't allow academics to do it. And you have to be doing this from the very first day you get to high school. You should start your habits in middle school. But a lot of players I talk to that can't get into schools, or when I was at Holy Cross, they would say, I'd look at their transcript and I'd say, man, it's just not going to work. And they'd say, yeah, Coach, but freshman year, I was transitioning and I got a couple bad grades, but then I really kicked it into gear. Like, everything on your transcript matters. So your GPA is cumulative. So they're not going to be like, well, he had a rough freshman year, let's just wipe that out and we'll just look, which year was your best? Oh, your junior year, we'll just take that GPA. Like, that's not how it works, okay? And you can control that stuff pretty easily by doing your work, paying attention, going to class, right? Making sure you manage your time and you're doing stuff. When you get home, don't put off your homework and your projects and all that till later.
So you have two players who are exactly the same. Okay, if one kid has the academics to take away from the baseball fund, they're going to choose that kid in terms of money. Okay, so if there's an academic, one child is going to have $10,000 worth of academic scholarship, the other kid has zero, so you have to give him $10,000 of baseball. Why not give the other kid $5,000 of baseball, $10,000 of academics, and just choose that kid? It can really separate two players who are very similar, who can get into the same school. One kid gets more money that doesn't have to take away from baseball money, and the other kid can't get any type of academics, and they have to give them all baseball money, so they say, screw it, let's just take the kid who's academically inclined. And like Coach Matt says, from day one, as a freshman, from day one, you just have to do your work. A lot of that stuff is just effort, right? How many guys want to go home and do homework? I mean, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not at all. But that's an effort thing. You just gotta go home and do your stuff. Go to class, go to school, and try your best. And things will end up going in your favor over time if you end up developing good habits from day one.
For Division I baseball, how many scholarships do you think, full scholarships? So like one would be, I'm going to give Nick Frenny 100% scholarship. That would be one scholarship, so I'm going to give it to him. Okay? How many scholarships? Let's think about this actually first. There's 35 guys typically on a roster. How many full scholarships do you think a school has, a Division I school has to pass out? Blurt it out, guys.
1 or 2.
Okay. How many? Okay. Okay. All right, I'll tell you. One, if you're fully funded, which means, you know all those schools you guys named, like Vandy and all the top schools, that means they're fully funded, they'll have 11.7, so very good guess. So basically, you're almost 12. But there's a lot of schools that are not fully funded in Division I baseball. At Holy Cross, we didn't have any scholarships. There's other schools around here that have 1 or 2 or 3, right? And so it can be anywhere from 11.7 down. But just think about this. You have 35 guys on the roster. If you wanted to give everyone 100%, you can only give less than 12 guys that scholarship. So you can break it up. Let's say you do 50s. You're still only going to be able to give about 23, 24 guys a scholarship. Okay? So most guys, athletically, that's probably your least likely chance of getting a scholarship would be athletic scholarship, because there's just not a lot of athletic scholarships. Okay? And just keep in mind, it's fully funded. Not a lot of schools in Division I are not even close to fully funded, okay? Division II, you have 9 scholarships. So you go to Division II, you have less scholarships. Now you get 35 guys, only 9 scholarships. Guess how many scholarships you have in Division III?
5.
Yeah, 0. You have no athletic scholarships, okay? The Ivy Leagues, guess how many scholarships the Ivy Leagues give out athletically? 0, exactly. Patriot League is, I know Holy Cross 0, I think a lot of schools in Patriot League are 0. So people think that they're going to get tons of athletic scholarships, and then players get, like, I talk to a lot of parents and players, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to get offered a big athletic scholarship. Some of them don't realize that there's not a ton of athletic scholarships to go around. Where do you think most people get their scholarships from? What are other ways that you think you can get much more than athletic? Yeah. Academic scholarships, yes. If you're a really good student, depending on the school, you can get a lot of academic scholarships, okay? So that is a huge part of it. And you can really control that with your grades again. Probably much more than you can athletically, okay?
And it opens up your pool of schools.
Right.
Right? So like, if you're a really good student, your pool of schools is huge. Let's just say there's 100 schools and you're a really good student, you can go to all 100. Right? You're going to be able to get into those schools. Say you're a poor student, now we knock that down 70%, like seriously, about 70%. Now you can only get into 30 of those schools. So it's super underplayed and it's not talked about enough for athletes, but academics is huge, huge.
And do you know what most schools do when they come down? So like we were just in Georgia. Guess what the school does? The college coach. When we're playing, right, before the game, the college coaches come down to our dugout and they ask about stuff. They get to know players. What do you think the number one, what do you think is the first question? I'm not kidding. This is the first question I get for every coach. What do you think it is?
What's your GPA?
Yeah, what are his grades? Exactly. It's a number one question. Nobody ever came down ever and says, hey, coach, how you doing? I'm blah, blah, blah. Hey, how hard's he throw? Or how fast he run? Or, you know, how much power? That is never the first question. It's always the grades. You know why? Because if you don't have the grades, you can't play there. So it don't matter. You could throw 98, but if you can't get into school, you can't get into school, okay? So let's remember that.